It's your own time you're wasting. Ramblings from Beyond the Classroom with Marie and Jodi.
Hello and welcome back to It's Your Own Time You're Wasting. I'm Jodi. I'm an old maths teacher, an ex-maths teacher. Every week, every time. I'm Jodi. I'm an ex-maths teacher and I now work writing the revision resources for Beyond. And this is my co-host Marie.
Hello, I'm Marie, and I seem to spend a lot of my time laughing at Jodi. I used to be a Senko and an English teacher, and I also now write resources for Beyond.
Yeah, I think that we should just change our podcast to Marie Laughs at Jodi.
Yeah, that
and invites other people to do the same. So today we're talking about social mixing with non-teachers.
Mm-hmm.
How did people react when you told them you were a teacher, Marie?
Well, the thing was, before I was a teacher, I was a feature writer.
Ooh!
So as soon as you said, "Oh, I'm a feature writer," to people, they go, "Exactly what you did then." Ooh! And they're quite interested. And then when you say, "I'm a teacher," and they say, "What do you teach?" and you say English, primary or secondary, "Well, I couldn't do your job," is normally the reaction.
Yeah,
But then
I'd
no
rather
more
you than
questions.
me.
Yeah, no more questions then. They're not interested.
The thing I always found is I was apologising for my subject, and I actually had this at the weekend. I was talking to an A-level student, and they were like, I was like, "Oh, what A-levels are you doing?" They said, "Oh, maths, biology, and science." And I kind of went, "Oh," and he was like, "Yeah, I know, I'm sorry." And I was like, "No, do not apologise. That's a great choice." And I was like, "I did maths, further maths, and physics. Like, you do the A-levels that interest you." And it kind of, I always had to apologise for being maths.
Why do you think that is, Jodi?
I could get quite deep here, I'm not going to lie. I think there's a social acceptance to be rubbish at and to hate maths that doesn't exist in any other subject. Or at least not in my experience. I think people will say, "Oh, I can't do maths," but people would never say, "Oh, I can't read."
No, they wouldn't. You're right.
And it's more socially acceptable than most subjects to be rubbish at it. And it's a stigma. It's a massive stigma.
Maybe we should do a whole podcast on that.
On maths phobia, yeah. I think that would be an interesting one to do.
Yeah, I think it would.
Because it'd be interesting to see non-maths teachers' perspective on it, because obviously I think maths is one of the greatest things in the world.
Yeah.
But, as far as subjects go, to me, it was always my favourite subject at school. So, yeah. Anyway, we digress.
Okay, as usual.
So I think normally the reaction is, it's all the standard stuff, isn't it? It's that you get 39 weeks of work and the rest of the time is holiday.
Oh, yes.
So let's not get too started on that one.
Well, I did have a big row with my best friend's brother about this. He's a builder and he's lovely, and I'm a teacher. And the first thing he said when I said I was a teacher was, "Oh, you get 12 weeks holiday a year." And I said, "Well, no, not really. Because, you do have to work in your holidays. Plus, you actually aren't paid for all those holidays. You're just salaried across the year. So it's a bit of a fallacy, really, to say." But then it escalated because he would not let it go. "Well, what other job could you do where you get 3 months off every year?" So I just simply said to him, "Listen, if you would like to have 12 weeks off, in inverted commas, a year, you go and do a degree for 3 years, then do a year's postgraduate, then do a year's NQT, and you're on your way."
Yeah, exactly. It's not like it's some exclusive thing.
No, but it's gone down in history, that argument, because we didn't fall out, but it's been like, "Oh, let's talk about teaching," when them two were around.
When I was in NQT, we had a teacher who was kind of middle-aged, starting to look towards to retirement, and he said, "It's doable because instead of working 40 hours for 50 weeks of the year, you work 50 hours for 40 weeks of the year." And I think that is true, but you don't, 50 hours is too many hours.
Yeah, it is. It's 12
that's
hours
10
a
hour
day.
day. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Do you think people who aren't teachers, like your friend's brother, do you think people understand the pressures, or do you think it's...
No, I don't think they do. And I don't think that's been helped by the image that teachers have had in the media over the last few years. Well, not last few years, few decades, to be honest. We seem to be made out as a profession that is inadequate and moans, and yet,
And in
you
the last couple of years, childcare.
Yeah.
It's been a big thing that's come out with COVID, I think, that childcare is the primary function of teaching.
Which is disappointing.
Yeah, I don't really have something to compare it to, because before I was a teacher, I worked in a call centre, and before that I did lots of odd jobs working in bars and stuff, so I just kind of didn't really have, when people said, what do you do? I could have picked one from about 7 answers, because I had about 7 jobs. And I chose to work in theatre, because that's the one I enjoyed the most.
Oh, and that would get you the ooh.
When I started telling my school friends and kind of my old friends that I was trained to be a teacher, the response was quite often, "Oh, finally, you've realised that's what you need to do."
Interesting.
Which is quite, yeah.
Similarly, when I said I was going to train, because I was 28 when I went to train to be a teacher, my mum said, well, your music teacher, Mr. McLaren, said years ago that you should be a teacher, like it was some sort of prophecy that came true.
Has it ever caused problems with friends, or?
Not really. No, not really. I've got a lot of teacher friends, so they're completely down with it. I do think people think in the holidays you're just absolutely free to do anything. When, I used to always do at least 2 weeks' work in the summer holidays. And then I always did like half. In a half term, I'd do 2.5 days. And then in 2 weeks' holidays, I'd do a week to try and prepare for the term. I was always trying to make my life easier.
I think it was the first Christmas as an NQT. So the school had mocks the 2 weeks before Christmas for year 11, which is not the best timing.
No,
and the
really.
logic was to make students relaxed over Christmas. They've done their mocks, they can relax a bit. And I genuinely appreciated that.
Yeah.
However, the consequence was the teachers didn't get to relax, because the kids expected it to be marked by the time they got back. So I spent Christmas marking, and my family's response was just like, well, you are going to take a day off, you're going to take time off. And I was like, well, yeah, I'm not going to mark on Christmas Day, but yeah, I'm going to mark most of Christmas, because I have 30 kids worth of exams, which is 90 exams to mark.
Yeah.
Because they do 3 maths exams. So yeah, I'm going to work all Christmas and don't get much of a break.
The thing that I found with teaching is you never ever felt finished. There was always something at the back of your mind thinking, oh, I need to do this.
And it's a profession that I think defines you more as just kind of your job. It's not just a job, it's everything about your life, because things like holidays and stuff like that are so fixed. When I was doing my teacher training, I actually lived with 3 trainee nurses, and it was similar for them. And different, completely different, because obviously they have holidays and stuff. But your life is so defined by your job, because it's all encompassing. So yeah, theirs was 12-hour shifts, 4 days a week, or night shifts, or whatever was how it defined them. But it's still, your life is built around that job. And actually, of all the people that I've met, those people have been the most understanding, because although it's in a different way, their job is so much a big part of their life.
It's your own time you're wasting. Ramblings from beyond the classroom with Marie and Jodi. There's not a lot they don't know about teaching.
So, Jodi, it's time to welcome our guests today, and very excitingly, we have 2 guests. We have Callie and Henry, who, just to note, are in the same room. So if you notice any echoing, that's why. So, Callie, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us who you are, what you do?
So I'm Callie. I work at Beyond as an illustrator, which basically means I draw pictures. I have no teaching experience whatsoever.
And Henry, what about you?
Hi, I'm Henry. I was maths teacher for 3.5 years. I still count the half, even though it doesn't really count. And now I am a writer-editor for Beyond, and I've been doing that for the last 5 years.
So you see what we've done here. We've chosen a non-teacher and a teacher. So how did you 2 meet? Mind you, did you meet at work?
Yes.
Because you now both work for the same company.
Yeah.
So that's obvious. Right. Callie. I know. Did you have any preconceptions about teachers, and have they changed since being with Henry?
Yes, I feel like I'm about to confirm some of the things you've already been talking about. But just to clarify my own background, so before this, I genuinely didn't know any teachers, nor
Oh,
did I know any kids who were in school. So I feel
right.
like all the preconceptions I had
Yeah.
about teachers were like assumptions a school kid might
Yeah.
make about
So you
teachers.
thought they still lived in the cupboards?
Yeah.
Essentially. But yeah, my eyes have been opened, put it that way. So if you ask me what my preconceptions were, I would
Mhm.
say I viewed teachers as authority figures. So there was like a
Right.
teachers are academics,
Mm.
and therefore there's like a slight intimidation.
Okay.
Right.
I still sort of have this now where I automatically assume all teachers are older than me, which is not true. Like Jodi is
I think
younger
I'm
than me,
younger
and
than you, yeah.
I can't grasp that because I'm just so far away from the teaching experience. You're gonna you're gonna laugh at this one, but I assumed it was a high paying job.
Oh, bless you.
Mhm.
So to me, I'm like, teachers, they're rich. Um,
To be
and
fair, I've had that one a few times, and I
Mm.
think it kind of shows that people think it should be a high paying job. And maybe, I take it as a compliment
Yeah.
that we
Yeah.
should
well,
be paid more.
Yeah.
it's something that requires a lot of education and training, isn't
Yeah.
it? So you'd
It does.
assume that those qualifications equal high pay.
Yeah. It don't work that way.
I had the holiday preconception of teaching as a job with a lot of holidays, and that's coming off of the fact that I literally had no idea that teachers had to work outside of work hours. I did not know they planned their own lessons. I didn't know they marked work outside of work.
Ah,
No idea.
Wow.
that's so
Um,
interesting.
yeah, I obviously didn't think about it too much because I
No.
didn't know any
Yeah.
teachers, but just like being around teachers now, because not only was Henry a teacher, he also has a lot of teachers around him. So
Mm.
I also have a lot of teachers around me now.
Yeah. And teachers are very vocal about what the job's like and all the extra stuff, aren't they? So you're bound to find out about that.
Henry, do you think your lives would have been as compatible in terms of kind of work schedules, work life balance, if you guys had met when you were still teachers?
If I was still teaching, I would just say no outright. I think, like I'd always struggled with behavior management
Mm.
when I was teaching, so I'd always
Mm.
have to like plan an extra, just
Yeah.
plan B in case plan A went
Yeah.
wrong, plan
Mhm.
C, plan D if that went to pot.
Yeah.
So I spent far too much time of my teaching career at home just doing extra planning. And basically, my home routine was come home, cook dinner, watch a single episode of a TV show, literally never more than a single episode.
Mm.
Mm.
Plan on a bad day until 1 a.m.,
Oh
go to
no,
bed.
Wow.
Henry.
Yeah. So, like, where would you fit in times for, spending time with your partner in between,
Mm.
in between those things? Like, you can talk over the single episode of TV, perhaps, but then you lose the plot, don't you?
Yeah.
So, how did you guys go about kind of? Obviously, we've talked about Callie's misconceptions about teaching, talked about Henry's experience. How did you kind of go about and explain what you'd, I guess, been through? Kind of what teaching was like and the experience of teaching you'd had. How did you start
Um,
that?
like what? Well, when we met, obviously I was working at Beyond, so I
Mm.
was I was in a safe space. I was removed from teaching. It was all in the past. But like, and as many teachers will attest to, I genuinely felt like I had a sense of PTSD. Like
Mm.
Yeah.
I'd see a group of kids that's slightly too big on the street, and I'd want to cross the road or go over and say a stern word or something.
Mm.
And it's just like there are so many little things that trigger me, and like I would like over time, I would just sort of have a bad mood for no good reason, and Callie would like, what's why you what you triggered by today? It's like, oh, that kid there with the hood or the bucket hat.
Oh,
Ah,
Um, but yeah,
yeah.
interesting.
it's one of the biggest things. I wouldn't call it a hurdle. I think it's just a factor, just something of our relationship that's developed is that Callie knows that I have I have teaching PTSD. So if there's a situation where there are troublesome kids, like, she'll be quite quick to help me remove myself from that,
Yeah.
which is really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not on your own, Henry, at all. And honestly, last podcast we were talking about learning walks, and I found that my mouth was going dry and my heart rate was increasing. I definitely was having like PTSD symptoms, if you want to put it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're not on your own.
Have you ever considered being a teacher, Callie? Has it ever been a...
There was, when I was doing my master's degree, I briefly volunteered at a college for teenagers.
Okay.
Where I was like a teaching assistant in a classroom, and pretty much as soon as I was in there, I was like, I don't enjoy the vibe of a classroom. Like I'd not even considered that I'd aged since I'd left school, and just like, yeah, it wasn't for me. It didn't appeal.
So, Callie, what top tips would you have for friendships between teachers and non-teachers?
I think for a start, don't be dismissive of anything they have to say. If they want to talk about work, let them talk about work, because they probably need someone to listen to what they have to say. So approach with empathy, I think, is the biggest thing.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Don't make assumptions unless you've not been in the situation.
That's a really good tip, and I kind of want to plaster that everywhere for all the people around me. I think don't make assumptions is a pretty good life lesson, to be fair. Henry, your communication is so good with Callie and with other people around you. What's your kind of top tip for that?
I think just be honest. Just if you have to, I think when you're a teacher, if you have to just, as I say, pull the band-aid off and just say, no, I can't spend time with you, I need to do this, just be blunt about it, and let them know that you're not hurting you're not trying to hurt their feelings. It's just the way it's all made. I guess that'd probably be it. Yeah, you're never trying to hurt anybody's feelings. You just have to do tons of marking.
And it sucks. Thank you so much for joining us, Henry and Callie. It's been an absolute pleasure to be chatting with you.
It has.
Thank you very much.
It's your own time you're wasting. So why not stick the kettle on, put your feet up and have a cuppa? Ah, bliss.
So, Jodi, 2 stars and a wish from today's episode.
I think my star has to be having such amazing guests. Genuinely, it was so nice to have a really honest, open conversation with people, and to kind of talk about some of the positive and some of the unfortunate negatives of teaching. And I think, thank you so much to Henry and Callie. It was just so nice to kind of hear those different perspectives. So my star is going to be our star guests. What about you? What's your star today?
I think my star is a little thing that Callie said, approach with empathy. I feel like that should be a sign that goes up.
Yeah.
Be around all teachers' desks. Approach with empathy, please.
Yes. I have a feeling I know what our wish is going to be, or what your wish is going to be.
No, go on. You do yours first.
I think my wish would be
Go for it.
to be able to explain to people and for them to let go of their misconceptions and their kind of ideas of what a teacher is, and actually listen to their friends and their family when they say this is a really hard job, because it is a really hard job. And it's a job that you only do if you're a passionate person, you really want to do it.
Yeah.
But it's still a really hard job. So I wish people would understand that. But I also wish it wasn't such a hard job.
Yeah.
So either would do.
Either. Yeah, I agree. Well, my wish is sort of similar. I wish there was some way that we could all have insight into other jobs and the pressures that are associated with them, and the good things that are associated with them as well. Because I think it would be, as Callie says, eye-opening to look at any job and see what actually goes on a day-to-day basis.
And actually, we're kind of getting up on a high horse and being like, no one understands us. But at the same time, I'm fully aware that I don't understand 99% of jobs. There's jobs out there that I don't really know what they are.
What they are, yeah, exactly.
And just generally, everyone having a better work-life balance would make the world a better place.
Yeah, it definitely would.
Bring on the 4-day week.
Oh, yes.
Thank you so much for listening today, and we'll see you all next time. I've been Jodi.
I've been Marie.
This podcast is proudly produced by Beyond. Please bear in mind the views and opinions expressed are those of individuals and may not represent those of Beyond or Twinkle.